This episode of How I Built It is brought to you by two great sponsors. The first is our season-long sponsor. Liquid Web has been best known as a managed hosting company with tons of options. It's also designed a managed WordPress offering that is perfect for mission-critical sites. If you're looking for improved performance, maximized uptimes, and incredible support, Liquid Web is the partner you've been looking for. Every Liquid Web managed WordPress customer has iTheme Sync integrated into their managed portal, allowing them to update several sites with a single touch. Liquid Web hosts all of my critical websites, and I couldn't be happier with them. If you sign up today, using the discount code HowIBuiltIt33, you get 33% off for the next 6 months. Visit buildpodcast.net/liquid to get started. That's buildpodcast.net/liquid. It's also brought to you by SiteLock. I'm sure you know how passionate I am about the ability to utilize WordPress to start and grow a business. However, did you know that the average website experiences 22 attacks per day? That is, if I do some quick math, 8,000 attacks per year per website. Website security is clearly a serious business, and that's why I choose SiteLock. For those of you who don't know, SiteLock is not only the global leader in website security, but they have maintained a dedicated focus on serving the WordPress community. Their automated cloud-based solutions find and fix threats, prevent future attacks, accelerate website performance, improve trust, and protect reputation. Plus, they have an amazing team of US-based security experts that are available to assist 24/7. This combination of technology and expertise allows you and me to focus on our businesses, while they ensure our sites and the visitors are protected from cyber threats. Call 855-759-1108 or visit buildpodcast.net/sitelock today to get a free quote. And as a special bonus, the first 50 people to call will also get a free extra large SiteLock t-shirt. Hey everybody, my guest this week is Alex Cancado of Gravity Forms. So in this episode we talk about one of the oldest, if not the oldest, premium forms builder for WordPress, and we talk about the research that went into creating such an integral part of any website. We talk about refactoring, automated testing, what it was like creating add-ons for Gravity Forms, and a whole lot more. And if you enjoy this episode, Alex and I did another kind of bonus episode for Patreon subscribers. So if you like this interview, head over to patreon.com/howibuiltit and check out the extended interview for subscribers $5 and up. But why don't you listen to this one first, because you're here now and it's a really great and free episode. So and without further ado, on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of How I Built It, the podcast that asks, how did you build that? Today, my guest is Alex Cancado of Gravity Forms. Alex, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Joe.
So today we are going to talk about Gravity Forms. A former guest, Jeff Matson, reached out to me and mentioned that you guys might be interested on coming on the show. So I'm a big fan of Gravity Forms. I use it for basically all of my web projects. So I'm really excited to talk to you today. Why don't you start off a little bit with who are you and what is Gravity Forms?
Okay. So, Joe already introduced me. I'm Alex Cancado. I am the lead developer of Gravity Forms. I'm a partner with, most people know Carl Hancock. So I'm his partner, and we have another partner, Kevin Flayhot. The three of us started Gravity Forms probably 8 years ago or something like that. And Gravity Forms is a form plugin for WordPress. And so that's basically, we got together, the three of us. We used to work together, developing websites, and we got together. We formed a company, Rocket Genius, and we started, brainstorming ideas. What we always wanted to develop a product, and we just didn't know what. And a form plugin, came into play, and that's basically how we started it.
Nice. So you worked with Carl and Kevin before you formed Rocket Genius, is that right? So Rocket Genius is only for your products.
Correct.
Okay, cool. And I think I know this story already, but can you tell us how you came up with the name Rocket Genius?
Well, that's a funny story. So we worked at this company, and Carl was a manager there, and there was a project that he got annoyed with somebody, and then he was storming out. I was like, this is not, he meant to say, this is not rocket science. And he said, this is not rocket genius. And and then Kevin was like, oh, that's a catchy name, Rocket Genius. And then he bought the domain, and then he just kept the domain for years. And when we started, thinking about forming a company, and I was like, how about Rocket Genius? And that's how it started.
That's fantastic. So the takeaway there is that if you hear a good idea for a domain name, buy it. You'll eventually use it somehow, right? I'm like a domain hoarder.
Exactly.
So I think a lot of people can probably relate to that one.
Yes.
So, and then I also see the rocket in the background there. So Carl has been very open about his affinity for space travel on Twitter. Do you share that affinity?
So I don't, but Kevin does.
Okay.
So it's mainly the two of them. Kevin is also, I'm sitting actually here in Kevin's office, and there is an astronaut looking at me. There is, a few rocket ships behind me here. There is like a chair, like an airplane chair. There's all kinds of stuff going on here, but it's mostly the two of them.
That's funny. Awesome. So, and then you guys work out of an office, so you're not like a remote company completely.
Right, not completely. It's probably about half and half. We have 6 people working here at the office in Virginia Beach, and probably, 8 people or so, they're outside.
Cool, very cool.
Yeah.
So you formed this company, you decided to make a Forms plugin at a time where there was maybe like 1 or 2 small ones?
There was Contact Form 7 out there. The bigger one, it was C Forms for WordPress.
Okay.
Those are the 2 WordPress, solutions. They were more popular at the time, but the ones really that we were looking at were the hosted ones. And those are the ones that we wanted to kind of bring the same experience to WordPress, at the time it was Wufoo was a big one, mm-hmm. and FormStack is another one that we looked to. We felt like we were, when we formed Rocket Genius, we knew that we wanted to develop a product, but we basically paying the bills by developing websites for clients. And we saw that a form solution was something that was lacking because we wanted something that was good, and we weren't happy about using Contact Form 7 or C Forms. And so we had a hard time. We at some project we used Wufoo. There was another one that was self-hosted, and I forget the name, that Kevin really liked to use. You'd get the PHP files and you'd install it in your server. But the problem with all those solutions is that they didn't look like WordPress. So it was hard for us to move them to our clients because it was a whole new education thing, try to teach people how to use, a product that they're not used to. So that was the main motivation for us to do this.
Gotcha. Yeah, because training somebody on just WordPress could be an overwhelming task, right? I think a lot of my listeners are in the WordPress community, but so it comes second nature to them. But a new user in front of WordPress is difficult. So giving them a completely new interface to build their forms as well could be doubly overwhelming. So
yes.
So it sounds like you guys did a bit of research. You looked at Wufoo, FormStack, and what was out there on the market. But it sounds like you knew you wanted to do products, and then by doing client work, you saw a need for a good form builder.
Exactly. So that was and from that, doing something. So that's something that it made a lot easier for us because we were building a form plugin and we were building it for us. Mm-hmm. We knew what we wanted, and so that making that decision made a lot of sense. We didn't really have to, go out and look at all the requirements. We knew the requirements because we needed it. So that helped us a lot.
That's awesome. Sure. So, so on that same token, you knew the requirements, you had some clients. Did you bounce ideas off of anybody besides the three of you? Do you have like a mastermind group or anything like that?
Yeah. So what, as far as features as far as features, we basically looked at these other solutions. We looked at CForms, looked at Context Form 7, looked at Wufoo, Form Stack, and we try to get the things that were good about each of them and bring them into WordPress in a way that, that was a big thing for us. We needed to look like WordPress. It needed to be, second nature. If you know how to use WordPress, you should know how to use Gravity Forms. That was our main goal there. Now, Carl became friends with a lot of the theme developers. Jason Schuler from Press 75 at a time, Corey Miller from iThemes, and he got a lot of business advice from them. And they helped us, a lot with marketing in the beginning because they were well known and we were nobody at the time. Nobody knew about us. And so we got a lot of help from them. Another person that helped me a lot or helped us a lot, was Yoast. He liked it right off the bat, and he gave us a lot of good pointers, especially me because I was not a WordPress developer and not even a PHP developer. I was a Microsoft guy developing, .NET applications. Wow. So this was my first. Really, it was funny because I didn't even know how to develop in PHP until, we started, and we bought a little book. I bought a little book and I read it in a couple of days, and then okay, now I'm a PHP developer. And so obviously I made a lot of newbie mistakes, and Yoast helped me, a lot, guiding me there in the beginning. So it was very helpful and nice of him.
That's fantastic. And you just named two previous guests, in Corey Miller and Yoast. They are both very smart guys and very generous with their time. So it's nice to see that even, back then they were doing the same things. So
yes,
that's fantastic. And so I guess I would love to spend more time than normal on this question because this was your first PHP project essentially.
Right.
So how did you build it? I'd love to know what it was like starting out, and then kind of what your development stack looks like today, because Gravity Forms is huge. I'm sure it's evolved, developing 8 years ago versus developing today is day and night.
Yeah. So basically at the time it was, Kevin was basically paying the bills. He was developing sites, for clients, and he was getting all the revenue to pay for all the bills. And while, and Carl also, while me, I was just tasked to develop this thing. So it was just me developing it, and obviously getting as far as direction from Carl and Kevin as well, and he was helping design it. But as far as developing, it was just me. I was a Microsoft, developer guy, so I found it very refreshing, PHP, and especially on top of WordPress, because things became a lot easier development-wise. Developing .NET, it's a lot more structured, a lot more, bureaucratic, if you'd say that. A lot of projects, I tended to over-design them, so they took a lot to develop, and a lot of times they got even canned before they went to production because it took so long to develop them. So I was a little bit frustrated at the time with that. And so when I started developing Gravity Forms, I did not want to fall into the trap of, hey, this is going to take forever, especially when, we have Kevin paying all the bills. Like, man, I got to speed this thing up and get this thing ready because, we need to survive here. So starting off, my thing was I want to get this thing done quickly, and I want to do it simply, in a simple way. I don't want to over-design it, and it was very refreshing programming in PHP and WordPress because you get so many things for free. I felt everything was easy, and WordPress had done a lot of the work for me. So I had a lot of fun doing it. Now, the thing is, I developed it quickly, and it was simple. And it grew very quickly after we released it. And then that started becoming a problem because it started growing, and I really didn't really design it the way that it would, for it to grow, that quickly.
Right.
And we started developing on top of it, and then it started becoming difficult to manage and big and a little, cumbersome. So for the past couple of years, we've done a lot of refactoring and, introduced some more of the things that now I wish that I had done in the beginning, some more object-oriented approaches to things. And we've done some of it. Of course, now it's like 10 times harder because you need to maintain backwards compatibility. So every time you try to do some refactoring on top of, something that has, hundreds of thousands of sites using it, you don't want to break, you have to think twice before changing anything.
Right, absolutely. I mean, we saw the effects of that with 4.8, right, in the text widget.
Exactly.
So I'll link that in the show notes for anybody who doesn't know what I'm referring to. But and WordPress does a pretty good job of maintaining long-term backwards compatibility, right?
Yes. Yeah, so. And we try to follow that same mentality. It's a big thing for me. I want to maintain backwards compatibility, and we pay the price because everything becomes a lot slower, development-wise. It's very easy to implement a feature, but to implement a feature without breaking everything else that you've done before, that's a different story.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of follow-ups on that. WordPress, I think at the time of this recording, supports back to 5.3.
I'm not going to know, Joe.
It's something annoyingly old, right? And so do you find that kind of affects the way you want to develop, right? Because you can't necessarily use all the features of PHP 7 if you want to maintain backwards compatibility.
Exactly. So we follow WordPress as far as that. We take their lead, and whatever PHP version they support, we try to support it as well. But yeah, I mean, it's hard for us. We're going to use the new features, but we can't. But at the same time, I can appreciate the fact that they are trying to be backwards compatible because I have sites too, and I absolutely hate when things break.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I can understand that, and we just move forward, with that in mind.
Gotcha. So do you think that maintaining backwards compatibility saves you support time, right? Because I mean, if you roll something out that breaks a bunch of sites, I suspect you'll get a lot of support questions.
Absolutely. So a lot of the things we do, support is a brutal task, right? Everybody knows that. Everybody that's into software development knows that. And we have a small support team for the size of our users. We have, over 1 million sites. And, hundreds of thousands of clients. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's a 5, people team supporting all these clients. And every time we develop a feature, we keep that in mind. We don't want to introduce any more support burden, to the team. So in backwards compatibility is one of them. And because of course, if we develop something that breaks sites, we're going to pay the price. We're going to get calls.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So do you have any testing? Do you have a testing suite or anything like that? Or
Yes. We've started probably a year ago, or maybe even longer. We started unit tests. We have a suite, but the unit tests mostly cover our API. So when people are using our APIs, there is a unit test suite that runs every time we build it. We build Gravity Forms. We have started more recently with acceptance tests, and those are browser tests. And I personally, I'm loving those things, and they already catching a bunch of mistakes that we would have made. We have 2 developers. They're basically tasked to going back, and we're starting with the front end form, and we have, I'm not going to say even close to 100%, but we have a pretty good start on coverage for the front end form. and we're going to start with add-ons and the backend, the admin, with the acceptance tests. And those things run every time we commit a branch. And so we know when things are failing, and it's going to be very important for us going forward, especially as we grow, so that making sure that we don't break things.
Right.
And it's an enormous amount of work. It's a lot of work, but it really starts paying off after you start getting the coverage up, and we already seen a few bugs being caught by the tests.
That's fantastic. So, and you said that they run on commit, right? Not merge. So, even before this thing gets merged into the master branch or the trunk or whatever, I assume because you're using Git.
Correct.
I don't know if that's a fair assumption.
That's fair, yeah.
Okay, so even before it gets merged that there's a problem with the code.
Yes. So we have master, we have a major branch, and those are the ones that we're keeping an eye on those. If a test fails, and obviously on master, if a test fails, that's a big problem. But even for now, right now we're developing 2.3, and if a test fails on 2.3, then it's also, hey, we need to fix this because that's going out here soon. Now, the tests also run in all the feature branches, the developer branches, and when test fails there, then it's not a huge deal because it's still under development, and the developer is mostly, it's just up to the developer to go and fix those. But they run on every commit.
Gotcha. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I've been hearing a lot more about the automated testing stuff on the show, so it's nice to see that that's working its way into the WordPress community now.
Yes.
It's relatively young compared to other software development. I'm sure like .NET probably had stuff like this.
Had stuff back then, exactly.
Yeah.
It's starting here now, and it's very nice. It is a lot of work to get it up to speed, but once you get it and you have something going, it's very nice to have.
Yeah, right. The time that you spend setting it up pales in comparison to the amount of time it saves you.
Yes.
So that's fantastic. So, 8 years old, you have seen lots of versions of WordPress and changes and things like that. What kind of transformations has Gravity Forms gone through over, since it first launched?
So Gravity Forms, we've added a lot of add-ons, and Gravity Forms itself, I wouldn't say has gone. Obviously, it has. When we started, it's funny because it's something that we talk about, is setting up a website that has, the WordPress, I don't even know which version that was, and Gravity Forms 1.0 to see what that looked like, back then. It would be funny to see. But Gravity Forms grew, quickly, a lot of new features because version 1.0 didn't have a lot. It was a simple version, and we just grew the, features that really are essential for a form builder. So I wouldn't say it has gone through any transformation in a sense that we haven't rebuilt it or rechanged the way things work. The editor still looks the same. Things still looks, pretty much the same. Obviously, we've added a lot of features and we've added a lot of add-ons. Code-wise, it has been hard for us to make any huge transformation because of the backwards compatibility issue. So that we've wanted to do more with it, and we've done some, but it's a slow process because we're very careful about changing things. We are on 2.3. We are going through, I think, the biggest transformation because we're going to change, the database tables. We're going to rename them. There is a major change on the way we query entries. Major performance enhancements, and that is the scariest thing that we've done so far. To tell you the truth, but we've added tests, we've tested a lot. We're going to go through a very long beta period, but that's going to be a big transformation. As for in the back end, it's not really user facing, but for us here, it's going to be a major transformation. So other than new plugins and new features and some refactoring, I wouldn't say we have gone through major. If you take everything together, it's a major transformation, but it's like a progress.
Right. Yeah. You incremental steps
It's an
over 8
incremental
years.
step,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
So, what is your favorite add-on? Out of curiosity.
My favorite add-on. Oh my goodness, you put me on the spot now. I'm gonna say, I mean, people are gonna kill me for this one, but PayPal is one that is it just gave us so much. I remember when we started, everybody was talking about, hey, you gotta have this PayPal add-on, you gotta have this PayPal add-on, and we developed it, and our users just came and they just adopted that add-on, and it was a major point of growth for us, and so that has a little special place, here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, I when I first launched WP in 1 month, I only had Stripe integration because I figured anybody can use a credit card. Like, who cares? Like, people don't like PayPal that much.
Mm-hmm.
The very day one, the very first request I got was, hey, do you accept PayPal?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I turned it on and it's about 50-50 on my site when people buy courses. So
Yeah.
people might kill you, but PayPal is still super duper important.
Exactly. Yes. It's as a developer, it's hard to deal with them sometimes, but people like to use them.
Yeah. So I'll tease. So anybody who's enjoying this conversation, you can catch part 2 over on Patreon at patreon.com/howibuiltit. Anybody who subscribes $5 a month or more can hear the rest of this. And we will get more into the maybe developing for PayPal in that part of the episode. So we are coming up on time for the main episode, though. So you talked a little bit about your plans for the future, right? You're changing the database. Anything else come to mind for plans for the future of Gravity Forms?
One thing that I want to do is bring our community more, together. We have a pretty nice community, a lot of people developing, add-ons for us, and we have a good relationship with a lot of them, but I don't feel like we've done, enough to promote them, to help, hey, this is because there's so many features out there that basically we are not promoting, and it would be very nice for people buying Gravity Forms to know that, hey, I can do this, I can do that, I can do that, and so that's something that I wanna do here soon, is have a place where we can showcase third-party add-ons, have a place where it has a list of all of them, and user can, customers can see them easily and search and things like that.
That's fantastic. And I mean, you guys are very developer friendly, right? I made a little add-on to I essentially set up front-end submissions so people could submit pictures to a website. And so I just made a little plugin to move pictures from the default uploaded folder and then add them to the media library, right? So it took me about an hour to code up. It was, you had the right hooks and everything like that. It was great. And it's a useful little plugin for me. So
there you go.
Yeah. So that I would love to see that. That's fantastic.
Yes.
So cool. And my favorite question to ask, do you have any trade secrets for us?
All right, let's see. I don't have any secrets, but there are a few things that I've learned throughout the years of trying to make something happen that might be useful for somebody. The big one for me is about commitment. I've tried before Rocket Genius. I've tried to get, and I've always wanted to have my company and build something, and I've always tried to do it before. Doing it part-time, you just work at night, you work whenever you can, and that's fine because you have to pay the bills, you have to have a job, but at some point you have to make a full commitment to the project, and you have to basically go heads on, and otherwise it just doesn't take off. It just stays in that state where it's almost there, but not quite. So I feel like, for people that are trying to do this and try to create a company, is it's okay to start with something part-time, but you have to know that at some point there's going to have to be a major, leap of faith you're going to have to take and make some commitment, because that's the only way that you're going to get it to work. That was one thing. The other thing that I've learned that worked for me and for us a lot, and we've touched this before during the interview, is to, when you're trying to find a product to work with, is to maybe try to find one that you need, because that makes everything else so much easier as far as the direction for the project and the features. So if you find something that you need yourself and develop that product, that will help you a lot in actually making that product useful for other people, because you know what needs to be there. And third, my last one is, I put a lot of emphasis myself on getting things done, because as a developer, it's very hard to finish anything. Just getting things out there and saying, oh, hey, I'm done. It's a big deal. And it's, I don't take that, lightly. So I think it's very important for you to start something simple and get it done quickly and get it out there and then build on it, instead of trying to build every single feature into it. Obviously, you have to, and that's why it's important for you to build something for you, because you're going to know what's really important and what is, maybe I can live without this for a little bit here, and I can build this later. So that goes hand in hand with that. But developing something simple that can get the job done, 80%, and get it out there and get it done, having people use it and get feedback, because basically it never ends. Gravity Form's been out there for 80 years. We're still working on it, and we're not even close to done. So it's like it's never going to end. So, so get something out there that's useful, but not too complicated. Otherwise, it's going to take you years to develop.
Yeah, I love that. So make the commitment, right? I feel like I can level with like all of these right now, because I just recently, at the time of this recording, went out on my own with WP in 1 month and the podcast. And I thought I was kind of I thought I would have all this time, right? Because I had a full-time job and I was doing this on the side, and I'm like, great, I'm going to have a lot more time. And my time just filled up. I was like I realized I was neglecting like half of my business.
Yes.
By having a full-time job. So that is great advice. Try to find something that you need is great too. I worked in higher ed, and I swear, like, the companies that we worked with developed for higher ed just because they knew there was money in it. Like, there's no way that they were actual users of the systems they were developing.
Yeah.
And get things done. I mean, I have a folder full of half-coded projects that could speak to that one. So yeah. That's great. All right, Alex, thanks so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this episode, you can get more of it over at patreon.com/howibuiltit. There is a second part where we dive deep into things like trademark and a few other really interesting topics that we parse out a little bit more. And that is for people who pledge $5 per month or more. And there's a lot of really great stuff on the Patreon. So go ahead and check it out. I'm a big fan of it. Again, that's patreon.com/howibuiltit. And thanks again so much to our guest, Alex. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks to our sponsors, Liquid Web and SiteLock. And until next time, get out there and build something.